Will she, won't she? Well, she has. Nancy Pelosi has landed in Taiwan and put paid to all speculation. The ball is now in China's court. Will it launch a war or a military operation over a diplomatic visit? Beijing is not taking it lying low. It has been active on many fronts. It has closed the airspace over Taiwan. There has been a cyber attack on Taiwan's presidential office. China is also making military moves. The pictures you just saw are believed to be from Fujian. This is a Chinese province. It is the closest Chinese province to Taiwan. And it is teeming with weapons, military vehicles and troops. Look at these pictures now. These are Chinese troops moving across a beach with tanks. On the other side, Taiwan is bracing for impact. What will be the cost of hosting Nancy Pelosi? Taiwan is preparing for war. It is preparing air raid shelters to protect its citizens. All eyes are on China. What will be their next move? Is an attack now imminent, or is all of this just posturing? In the next few minutes, we'll discuss all scenarios. We'll begin with Nancy Pelosi. She's the first Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives to visit Taiwan in 25 years. The last one was in 1997. A certain Newt Gingrich. His visit also met with a Chinese protest, but it was nothing like this time. Today's China is more aggressive and led by a man who's more ambitious, even delusional. This visit is a challenge to the authority of Xi Jinping, and his response will determine how seriously the world should take China's threats. Needless to say, the world is watching all of this carefully. Pelosi landed just a few minutes back. She came on board a U.S. military plane. This is a Boeing C-40C. It is operated by the U.S. Air Force. Pelosi was welcomed by top Taiwanese officials at the airport. You could say Pelosi's flight was among the most closely tracked in the world today. Now that she's landed, what is her plan? She'll spend at least a day in Taipei. Several high-profile meetings are lined up. This includes a meeting with Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen. An official schedule has not been released, but we'll be tracking all of this closely. As the world is tracking this too, U.S. stocks are falling. American markets have tanked. They fell by almost 1% on opening today. Investors are rattled. They're worried about the escalating tensions between the U.S. and China. Like I said, a lot depends on how China responds. For now, they've issued a statement. They've launched an official protest with the U.S. over Pelosi's trip. I have that statement issued by Beijing just a few moments back. This is what it says. On August the 2nd, the Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, disregarded China's strong opposition and solemn representations and visited Taiwan, China, to show that Taiwan is a part of China. China's sovereignty and territorial integrity have seriously undermined the peace and stability of the Taiwan Strait and sent a serious wrong signal to the Taiwan independent separatist forces. The Chinese side firmly opposes and strongly condemns this and has lodged solemn representations and strong protests with the U.S. side. Very strongly worded, but we'll have to see if their actions match their words. Because the words in the past few days were threatening of dire consequences. So what is China going to do? For now, their state media is giving minute-by-minute updates of this visit. Global Times has published details about the route taken by Pelosi's plane. According to the Global Times, she did not travel to Taiwan via the South China Sea. She traveled via the Philippine Sea. Why did Nancy Pelosi avoid the South China Sea? The Global Times has a theory. They say Pelosi was trying to avoid a possible PLA interception. That, remember, was one of the fears that the U.S. military is also said to have voiced, that the Chinese military might intercept Nancy Pelosi's plane. So the Chinese state media says to avoid this, she took a different route. Now, why is this visit such a big deal for China? because they see Taiwan as part of their country. Remember what they said in the joint statement, Taiwan, China. And they see this visit as a violation of their sovereignty and territorial integrity. What about the US? What is their position? Officially, the US endorses the One China policy, meaning Taiwan is a part of China. But in action, and increasingly in words as well, they're backing Taiwan's push for independence. And this is part of that effort, it seems. Nancy Pelosi, despite all threats, has arrived in Taiwan. How is Beijing responding? It has vowed to make America pay.
We are closely following Nancy Pelosi's itinerary. If the US is bent on going its own way, China will take resolute and strong measures to safeguard China's sovereignty and security interests. The US will certainly shoulder the responsibility and pay the price for undermining China's sovereignty and security interests.
Beijing has unleashed its wolf warriors. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi spoke out too. He said the US has committed treachery. Tensions are rising. The entire Chinese machinery, state machinery, has been mobilized, and Beijing is responding both diplomatically and militarily. First, let's tell you about the diplomatic response, and this is before the arrival of Nancy Pelosi. We've already told you what the Chinese statement post the arrival said. Chinese internet companies have gone offline in Taiwan. China's Twitter alternative Weibo has shut down its service in Taiwan. A Chinese news portal has also gone dark. Why did these websites leave Taiwan suddenly? They've not given a reason, but it's safe to assume that this is happening because of Pelosi's visit. And that's one part of the response. Second, China is going after imports from Taiwan. Beijing has banned sweets, biscuits, pastries from Taiwan, also confectionery and bread. At least 100 Taiwanese products are affected. All of them are banned. Then we come to the military response. What is the Chinese military doing? They've prepared a range of options, and they're working on all of them, it seems. The PLA is ratcheting up military activity around Taiwan. It made the first move with fighter jets. This morning, China dispatched several warplanes. They flew towards the Taiwan Strait. In response, Taipei dispatched its own planes. The Chinese jets returned, but they left behind a message. They demonstrated how quickly Chinese planes can reach Taiwan. And that's not all. The PLA's southern theatre is on high alert. Military units there are on standby. They are in charge of South China Sea and some Taiwan-related missions. And these soldiers could be asked to join the military build-up against Taiwan. Since last week, the PLA has been conducting drills dangerously close to Taiwan, and now they've announced another series of war games. These began today in the South China Sea, and they're expected to continue till Saturday. Now let's tell you what's happening within Chinese borders. The PLA is being redeployed. The PLA, of course, you know, is the People's Liberation Army, the Chinese army. You've already seen what's happening in Fujian. This province, Fujian, could be at the center of the Chinese military response. If Beijing launches a military operation, it will most likely begin in Fujian. But what are the chances of that happening? Will China engage Taiwan militarily? Experts are not ruling out that possibility. Domestic air traffic was disrupted in Fujian today. Several flights were diverted. And this could be a sign. China could be clearing up the airspace for their military. So what exactly are they planning? How big an operation is the PLA prepared to conduct? The past offers some clues. Option 1 is a missile test. China has done this before. In 1995, Beijing test-fired missiles into the sea near Taiwan. What was the trigger? Bill Clinton, the then US president, had allowed Lee Teng-hui to visit the US. Lee Teng-hui was Taiwan's first democratically elected president. The US came out in his support, and China responded with a missile test. Option number 2, the PLA could attack an island. An invasion of Taiwan is risky, but going after smaller islands near Taiwan is easier. And these islands are under Taipei's control. Again, there is precedent. China has targeted an island before. It bombarded Taiwan's Kinmen Islands. This happened during the early days of the Cold War. Taipei managed to repel Chinese forces, but it suffered heavy losses. Hundreds of Taiwanese soldiers were killed. Now, decades later, Taiwan is preparing to counter another Chinese attack. It has built air raid shelters. Taiwanese citizens are being trained to dodge missiles. Officials are reviewing existing infrastructure, basement car parkings, underground shopping centers, and parts of the subway system can be used as shelters too. Officials in Taipei are comparing their situation to the war in Ukraine.
When you look at the war in Ukraine, when the Russians strike, in the beginning they would hit military targets, but it's hard to imagine that they would not hurt the innocent public. Normal buildings, organizations or schools could get hit by strikes too. In the same vein, Taiwan could face the same situation.
So Taiwan realizes the consequences of hosting Nancy Pelosi, but is it worth the risk? What will the US do if China's military strikes? It will sell more weapons for sure. Every conflict anywhere in the world benefits US defense companies. They're selling arms to Taiwan too, and increasingly to Europe. But will Washington follow through on its promise to protect Taiwan? It says it will, but its record does not inspire confidence. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.